This has been quite the unexpected year. Many of the animated movies we thought would be released this year weren't, and most of what we watched was at home. However, that does not mean we did not see plenty of worthy animated films that kept us entertained. They were just mainly on streaming services, thanks to Netflix continuing to invest more in the art form, and newer services like Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus also providing viewers with animated films. Now, like any other year, there were a few animated films I wanted to see but did not get to see. Most notably, the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run because of its strange release strategy, and The Croods: A New Age because I've not set foot in a cinema since March, and the premium on-demand rental is a tad pricey, but I hope to see those eventually. In the meantime, here are my current favorite animated movies of 2020, all of which can be watched at home. Trolls World Tour. I thought DreamWorks' first Trolls film did an okay job of setting up the world. With the sequel, director Walt Dorn seemed to take the elements that worked the previous time around and really pushed the most appealing parts. The concept of there being different musical trolls is such a creative one, and the artists and animators bring a ton of imagination to the scrapbook-inspired world. This is a beautiful looking movie, and honestly not the only entry on this list that experiments with what computer animation is capable of. The song numbers have needed energy, and there are a number of laugh-out-loud moments, especially from Princess Poppy's fast-talking delivery and movements, and we also get a scene-stealing turn from Rachel Bloom as the leader of the hard rock trolls. Trolls World Tour ends up as a charming burst of color and music. Animal Crackers. This is a movie that I've been awaiting a major release for a number of years now. Aside from being shown at the Annecy Animation Festival and a release in China, it's been stuck in a vault. Eventually, Netflix bought the distribution rights and made it available on their platform this year, and the long wait was definitely worth it. Directors Scott Christian Salva and Tony Bancroft put together some really fun set pieces as we watch a father transform into various animals. There are so many creative scenarios, with circus proprietor Owen eating animal crackers and becoming the different beasts. However, there's also a sweet storyline involving his family that added a necessary attachment to the whole adventure. And when you think Animal Crackers is going to go in a certain direction, it surprises you. The humor is mostly on point, with the biggest laughs coming from hijinks at a dog food factory. This movie really knows how to use its Patrick Warburton. Some may scoff at Animal Crackers having a lower budget or for skewing younger than the big studio animated movies, and I don't think that's fair to a film that has plenty of creativity on display. Farmageddon, a Shaun the Sheep movie. This film was released in a number of countries last year, so it's technically a 2019 release. However, it was only distributed in my territory in February, so I'm bending the rules slightly and making it eligible for this list. Besides, I think we all needed some Shaun the Sheep in 2020. Farmageddon was a delightful film, continuing the physical comedy and dialogueless elements of what make the television series and the Sheep's previous movie so special. This time an alien is thrown into the mix, allowing for many inspired gags, as Shaun tries to make sure his new friend isn't discovered. Shaun and Bitzer the dog actually have quite the solid arc, as they try to help the alien, and even the farmer gets a funny storyline, in which he tries to capitalize on the current UFO craze. Meanwhile, the filmmakers make the villain surprisingly fleshed out in her motivations. The many sight gags deliver the required belly laughs, and there's a sweetness underneath too. I'm always happy to partake in this adorable, bleeding sheep's antics. The Phineas and Ferb movie Candice Against the Universe. After over 200 episodes and the Across the Second Dimension movie, you might think creators Dan Povenmire and Jeff Swampy Marsh would have run out of things for their popular inventive stepbrothers to do. However, Candice Against the Universe crafts a funny and exciting story that puts a lot of the focus on, well, Candice. This movie does a really good job of exploring the stress caused by Candice constantly seeking to bust her brothers and things not going right for her. Ashley Tisdale is allowed to really showcase her acting skills here, and this leads to quite the emotional arc for Candice. Of course, Phineas and Ferb are great to follow too, and the decision to pair off Dr. Doofenshmirtz with Isabella is wonderfully inspired. They even find a great way to utilize Perry the Platypus, who has to avoid being seen by the others. The songs do the job of being catchy, and there are many funny jokes scattered throughout. My favorites involve Doofenshmirtz's latest Bizarre and Nator, and one of the greatest fourth wall breaking gags I've seen. The story even has some legitimate stakes. This is a more than worthy second feature-length escapade with Phineas and Ferb. The Willoughbys, a darkly comic story about a group of neglected children who try to orphan themselves, in their own words. Director Chris Pern was able to mix that with a brightly colorful and vibrant world. With animation meant to evoke stop motion and brilliant character designs by Craig Kelman, this proved to be a fast-paced and very funny film. Pern finds the right balance in depicting some of the truly macabre things these children have to deal with, but without becoming too crass. And by the end, you do feel sympathetic towards them as they cope with everything that happens to them. Along the way, they work together alongside a narrating cat with the voice of Ricky Gervais, a helpful nanny, and an eccentric candy maker. There's so many creative set pieces that really build on the humor of the situation. I have a soft spot for these sorts of Roald Dahl type stories, and the Willoughbys deserve to sit alongside those tales. Onward. A personal story for Dan Scanlon, Onward becomes a touching movie about two brothers as they try to bring back their father. The fantasy setting, mixed with modern suburbia, is a clever idea, and I really like how the filmmakers established this world, particularly with characters like a pixie biker gang and a manticore who owns a family restaurant. There's definitely a lot of inspiration from classic fantasy and Dungeons & Dragons, and these are well implemented into the story and the various obstacles Ian and Barley face. They have some great interactions that add to the emotional element of the film, and there's also plenty of comedy from seeing their father's legs and fake upper body parts flailing about. It's a bizarre concept that Scanlon and his team utilize really well. Ultimately, this becomes a journey that knows how to handle the different tones and with plenty of inventive animation from the Pixar artists. It's a shame Onward was released in theaters at the worst possible time, because it's certainly a movie deserving of more attention. Wolfwalkers. Tom Moore and Ross Stewart directed a beautifully animated story that mixed 17th century Irish history with their local folklore. The film explores how others react to those different from their own, and this relates to not only the titular Wolfwalkers, but also the father and daughter who move into the town of Kilkenny. The best moments involve the lead protagonist Robin and the girl she meets in the forest. There's a fun dynamic between the two, especially with what a ball of energy her new friend is. The magical elements are wonderfully integrated, especially when we see the world through the point of view of the wolves. The animation changes based on the mood of the scenes and the characters we are following. That adds a unique visual aspect to the story. We also get a ruthless villain in the form of the real-life Lord Protector Oliver Cromwell. Wolfwalkers is very much a film about tolerance and told in a manner full of imagination and heart. And my favorite animated movie of 2020 is Soul. As you can see, there have been plenty of strong animated features this year, but I think Soul is the standout for a number of reasons. First is the visual experimentation involved, as the artists and animators at Pixar create their version of the great before, and where souls begin to develop their personalities. There is so much imagination in the character designs and animation. Then there are the ideas presented. Are we always destined for that thing we always wanted? Or will life throw something in our way and guide us to a new desire? The film handles these questions beautifully through Joe Gardner's arc as we see him attempt his dream of becoming a jazz musician. His interactions with the cynical soul 22 are also fantastic. When we're introduced to her, she spouts plenty of hilarious quips courtesy of Tina Fey. Then the movie develops 22 in other ways. I love this version of New York the filmmakers show us, and what's great is that even minor characters leave a memorable impression. Director Pete Docter and co-director Ken Powers definitely bring a lot of personal things into the story that help enhance it and make it something special and also quite different from what we normally expect from Pixar Animation Studios. Anyway, this year was certainly a strange one, but it was good to see these delightful animated films. And 2021 promises even more. We of course have ones that were delayed, like Raya and the Last Dragon, Connected, Bob's Burgers the movie, Minions The Rise of Gru, and a hybrid Tom and Jerry movie. There will also be a Pixar film set on the Italian Riviera, a Disney musical exploring Colombian culture, DreamWorks depicting a group of criminals who turn a new leaf, Sony Animation telling both the story of a boy and his magical dragon companion and a monkey going on a musical adventure through the Caribbean, Paramount throwing monsters into the wrestling ring, and the newly formed Locksmith Animation showing a world where robots are our best friends. Netflix will be going heavy on animation too, with Guillermo del Toro's adaptation of Pinocchio, Henry Selick teaming up with Key and Peele, Nora Toomey with her own dragon movie, the story of an alligator boy visiting the big city, and a journey back to the outback. And Disney Plus will be offering us animated takes on Night in the Museum and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. There are also the continuing adventures of a Boss Baby, The Addams Family, Hotel Transylvania, the Paw Patrol, Singing Animals, a horse named Spirit, and even the Looney Tunes returning to the basketball court. There's a lot to anticipate, and I'm definitely looking forward to all of them. See you next time.